welcome to my channel. If you want to see how I got this easy, sultry, smoky eyed look plus this chiseled bronzed face, then keep watching. To start off with the face, I'm going in with my Rosehip Oil by Trilogy, and this is just a really good moisturizer which I feel really nourishes my face and just preps it for my foundation. Using my POREfessional primer from Benefit, I'm going to apply it on the areas where I need to minimize the appearance of pores, which is my cheek, forehead, nose, and a little bit on the chin. Before I start out with my eye makeup, I'm just going to use tape on the outer corners of my eye so we can have a slightly sharp winged look. Now for my eyeshadow, I'm going to be using my Naked palette in the shade Busted and just work from the outer corner to the midway of my crease. Then I'm taking the shade Snowbite, which is a little bit in the brown family, and just go on top of the Busted and just really diffuse the darkness and blend it out really well. Now for the intense part. I'm going to be using the shade Blackout from my Naked palette again from Urban Decay and just really stack it on my eyelid till the eyelid is completely covered. It's completely okay if there's any harsh lines because we are going to go in and blend it all out. Moving on to the face. Okay, now before I started with my foundation, I actually went to the MAC store and I picked up this burnt coral face corrector, if I'm not wrong, from the palette Mud Deep, and I'm just applying that on my face, just on my blemishes and a little bit on my freckles, and just trying to see if this really works for me, if I really need to buy it. I obviously picked up a tester, and I think you guys can do that too if you really want to try it out. As you can see, I'm just applying it in the concerned areas and just blending it a little bit with my finger. For my foundation, I'm using my Studiofix fluid from MAC in the shade NC35 and just applying it all over my face with my finger. And using my sponge, we're just going to buff this all over into the skin. I think I wasn't really satisfied with my foundation, so I'm just using a little bit more and just really going in for that full coverage look. For concealer, I'm using the Prolong Wear Concealer from MAC in the shade NC35 and my favorite Radiant Creamy Concealer from NARS in the shade Ginger, and just applying it in the usual areas, which is under the eyes, forehead, nose and chin, and just really brighten up those areas. Usually the matte concealer itself is good, but I like to mix the NARS when I really want full coverage and highlight. Using my damp sponge, I'm just going to blend everything to get that skin-like finish. To set all the concealed and highlighted areas, I'm going to be using my Laura Mercier Translucent Power and just powder and just really let it do its thing while I move on to my eyebrows. To start off with the eyebrows, I'm just going to brush them out and then using my ultra fine brow defining pencil from Benefit, I'm just going to outline my eyebrows. Using a black eyeshadow from MAC in the shade Carbon and a slightly angled brush, I'm using MAC 203. I'm just going to fill in my eyebrows completely. And to set all the eyebrow hair in place, I'm going to be using my Prolong Wear Waterproof Brow Gel from MAC. Going back to finishing off the eye, I'm going to be using the shade Busted and just run it down my lower lash line. To top it off, I'm going to be using the shade Carbon from MAC and just run it along my lash line and just stack it on top of the shade we used earlier. To finish off the eye makeup, I'm going to be using my Hydro Collagen Insta Volume Mascara from Loreal and just applying it on my top lashes and my lower lashes. Crap, I just poked my eye while I was doing my lower lash. Now for a quick contour, I'm using the Pro Glow Concealer in the shade Toast. I'm first drawing all the lines of contour on the usual areas, which is my cheek and my nose, but this time I'm doing it on my jawline as well, just for that extra chiseled look and blending it all out. To set everything with powder, I'm using my MAC bronzer in the shade Matte Bronze and just placing it in the areas where we cream contoured to get the perfect bronzed look. Here I'm taking a blush by MAC in the shade Amaring and I applied that on the apples of my cheeks. You don't want to be using too much, so just go little by little as this blush is highly pigmented. Now for the highlight, I'm using Soft and Gentle Mineralized Skin Finish by MAC and just applying it on the top of my cheeks, a little bit on my forehead, down the bridge of my nose and my cupid's bow, also on my brow bone. For that inner eye corner glow, I'm using the shade Chopper from my Naked palette. Finally, moving on to the lips, I'm using Kylie's liquid lipsticks in the shades Heir and Brown Sugar. I'm going ahead with the Brown Sugar lip liner and just lining my lips and slightly filling them all in. While I was filling them in, I realized Brown Sugar is a little too dark, so I changed it with the shade Malibu and applied it all over my lips. To top it off, using the shade Heir, I'm just going to apply it in the middle of my lips and just dab it with my fingers. Using my all-nighter makeup setting spray from Urban Decay, I went ahead and locked all my makeup in place. This setting spray is really good as it gives me that dewy finish. And voila girls, we are done! It's like nicely all lit up, you guys can see. Yeah, broccoli salad. So we're just walking into Taj Mahal Palace and look at this. my baby car. So this is what it looks like. A leaf, which has got some kind of syrup on it and like coconut shreds, and it's in 2 pieces. So I think I'll go with one first. Round 2. If you really liked this look and enjoyed the date night, don't forget to subscribe and keep watching.